budget as presented by the CS for Treasury, and certainly, of course, we'll look at just what impact it will have on the common mwananchi. Karibu sana. This is Morning Cafe. Thank you so much for keeping it TV47 on this beautiful morning. Allow us to take you through what the papers detail this morning, and we'll also focus on the conversation that revolves, or the conversations that revolve around these stories that have been captured. So much is happening right here in the country and beyond, and I think it is only fair that we let you understand what is there. Being a Tuesday, we certainly also get to a space where we discuss more on monies, more on finances, more on budget allocations, and later on we'll be engaging an official from SRC, that is the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, as we also get to understand what are the prospects that they get to use in terms of declaring and also determining just who is going to get who. Please walk with us. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE. Let's look at some of the reprieves that have been presented to us by the President in relation to the 2023 Finance Bill, and we unpack that with the gentleman that will be joining me shortly. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE. The broadcast begins right away. My name is Linda Alela. We'll certainly be looking at some of these comments to read them much later. We have the Standard newspaper. We have the Daily Nation as well as the People Daily. Allow us to briefly look at some of the stories that have been captured, and especially on the front page, and then we'll take it to the next level in terms of, just going through the news stories that have been worked on by the team right here. Lupita takes on body shavers in sassy outfit, a story captured on page 3 of the Standard newspaper, or perhaps captured on the front page and expounded on page 3. This is quite interesting. I know she has been pulling, quite interesting moves in basically what it is that she dresses on, and of importance, the kind of, art that she puts on her head, and sometimes her face and the entire body, and perhaps many have looked at it as though it's a bit uncomfortable, not looking so good, but equally others have appreciated. And through this style, she has tried to speak of numerous cultures in this world, the other time depicting what is of the Indian culture and so much more. So she turned heads in the racy, that is silver attire, which she's actually having right now, just trying to speak of quite an interesting aspect of style, and, well, perhaps got very many people, speaking about it. Her photos elicited a range of reactions, with some social media users praising her daring choice. And it's quite interesting, certainly, with her kind of space, or the kind of space that she's in, you would definitely expect that she gets away with so much so in terms of style. Back to the front page of the Standard newspaper, the biggest story: Ruto gives with one hand, takes away with the other. And we're looking at the Finance Bill 2023. And so the President has agreed to amend some of the controversial taxes by reducing the percentage on housing levy to now 1.5 and increasing the amount to be taxed 35% payee. However, retaining VAT on petrol erodes any little gains. A story captured on page 4. Remember, the conversation this week is on the levies, or the taxes, as well as the entire budget, which is set to be presented at the National Assembly by CS Treasury, and that then will begin the year of 4. That is the Kenya Kwanza government. Museveni tweets away in isolation, a story captured on page 7, and perhaps they've tried their level best to just, get people understanding that, well, in as much as the president of Uganda is not so well, there's really no cause for alarm. That's a story captured on page 7, and equally a developing story. Will update you as and when they get to hit the editorial desks. And dead Kenyans leave 29 billion shares in listed firms. That is in the business world. It's quite, an interesting. And I remember the other day they were trying to call upon individuals perhaps to just follow up on what is of their family or their kin kinsmen and women who passed on, just to follow up to make sure that, well, some of these, monies and some of these properties then are claimed. Away from it to the Daily Nation, there's not much of the Standard newspaper. How smart detective work led to rescue of abductees and arrest of kidnappers. That is a story that is on the front page of the Daily Nation and expounded on page 2. How smart police work led to abductors' arrest. Family was told to carry on idle talk to stall the kidnappers as police tracked them down. That's a story that is captured on the front page. And we're talking about 2 kidnappers who police believe are part of a wider criminal gang, as is said right here, and that they aided their own capture on Sunday when they began ransom negotiations with the family of a media personality after abducting her daughter along with her friend some time there. And of course, we're talking about Moirori. And we just basically would want to understand what really could have informed this, but definitely Erica Njeri, as they would rightfully say, alongside her friends, are well. And the question would be, is this really as well continuing? And especially when we are using, public means that, these people are, like, basically it's well documented. And so they say that they were abducted when they had ordered for a bolt. And so Shiko Moirori's friend, or Shiko Moirori's family, is certainly a little bit appreciative of just how the police came on board to make sure that they manage this. And so the conversation is still on, perhaps also a developing story and investigations being conducted on the same, but we are called upon to be a little bit careful, especially when we are trying to get ourselves from point A to point B and using some of these means of transport. And another story, police split over Koome promotions. That also is a conversation that has been there, I think, from last week upon the revoking of the new appointments that were done by Koome. Well, certainly this has been challenged, but equally we still are following to see just how the NPSC will handle it, and also the office of Japheth Koome, as we also try to get to establish what exactly could have informed, that move by NPSC and just what it would mean for these 500 senior police officers. And President William Ruto here, on the other side, has made the adjustments to the Finance Bill 2023, perhaps to react to the conversation that has been ongoing from the masses. And they say why Ruto climbed down on new taxes, bill to be tabled in the House today. That is for members of Parliament to make their proposals or their own amendments. And so we're looking forward to it being a developing story. We update you even as we await to see the budget then being presented on the 15th of this month for an even wider conversation as to how we manage the financial year 2023-2024. On the other side, it's Gachagua versus Mudavadi. Battle for supremacy, but is it really battle for supremacy or not, based on what it is that the Deputy President had to say? And right here, as captured on the front page of the Daily Nation, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua derision on Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi's foreign trips has lifted the lead to tension or on tension between the two, even as Kenya Kwanza team continues to say that perhaps they are working together. And we have seen the Western leaders also coming out to support the Prime CS, that is in defense of him. And so equally, is it really a point where there's favoritism, that the president has bestowed on Musalia Mudavadi, or basically it's just the Kenya Kwanza government organizing its house and making sure that the necessary, ways of managing the government are done in the best way? Well, certainly we are looking forward to see what will unfold out of that, even as we have seen the president on numerous occasions sending the Prime Cabinet Secretary to different countries to represent him, on these diplomatic conversations. Journalist murder planned in Pakistan, and this is quite unfortunate. And remember, this happened sometime, should be last year, or early this year. Ashad Sharif's mother tells Pakistan Supreme Court a plan to assassinate her son was hatched in her home country. Equally, investigations are ongoing and certainly will equally be following up to keep you up to tabs. And here we are. Italy's former prime minister who loved bunga bunga parties dies at 86 and dominated Italian public life for decades as a billionaire, media mogul, and the country's longest-serving premier. But then he was always, dodged by scandals. May his soul rest in eternal peace. That also is one of the stories that finds itself across all the papers. A final curtain falls on colorful PS for Italy. That is some time back, as you can evidently see right there. And on the budget, members of parliament to cut housing levy, and budget committee agrees to adjust deductions from the 1.5 or from 3 to 1.5% after the protests that have been there for the better part of this month and a bit of last month. Move comes ahead of tabling of finance bill today or tomorrow, and budget on a Thursday as captured on page 4. And we'll be following up as well to keep you up to tabs. This as Arctic court to stop import of baby powder brand. This also is an interesting story that has been captured on the front page and expounded on page 2 with various reasons accorded as to why then they are recommending the adjustments as necessary. And also on the other side, George Soros hands reins of $25 billion empire to son Alex. Quite interesting. We all know philanthropist George Soros and just how instrumental he's been in the activities across the world. In Africa, some equally have labeled him as an individual who's funded, that is, regime change across these different countries, and perhaps seeing some of the countries going down well for whatever reason. It's been a conversation that has been ongoing, and also we're looking at these abductors that have the face of where the police actually had to rescue Shiko Moirure's daughter alongside her friend, that is Erica Njeri. And so that is Erica Njeri, the daughter, and equally alongside her friend. As I've said, it's a developing story. We'll be here to keep you up to tabs. Allow us to shelve what is of the papers this morning and look at some of the stories that we have. And 10 more bodies have been exhumed at Shakahola, bringing the total number of bodies exhumed to 284. Coast Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyancha has said that the number of those reported to be missing is at 613, while total rescues stand at 95. She has noted that the construction of security roads that were planned by the government as part of a comprehensive effort to aid in the search and rescue operations of the victims, that is of the Shakahola cult, as well as identification of graves, are ongoing. The exhumation exercise is expected to continue today.
So the search and rescue team is also aiding the exhumation crew, or the homicide team, in identifying the graves that are within the forest. So they have done very well today. And for today's statistics, the exhumation team or the homicide team has been able to exhume 10 bodies. And that brings the total number of bodies that have been exhumed in this forest to 284. The roads are going on very well. We have no challenge so far, and we appreciate our colleagues from the Kenya Defence Forces for the good work that they are doing so far. We'll continue with them up to the time we will finalize working on the roads. The other numbers remain constant because we've not been able to arrest anyone today, nor rescue another person.
Ukisikia niece wako au nephew amepotea, ameenda dini fulani na uko na tashwishwi, naomba fuatilia as a member of the family. Hata tusiongee mambo ya kanisa au serikali, just at the family level. Umeenda nyumbani after about being away for so many months, na umesikia fulani anaenda hii dini, there are questions, fuatilia. Let us begin at the family level.
And President William Ruto's plan to introduce a unique personal identifier UPI as a means to identify Kenyans and to centralize their details to better help them make use of government services has received mixed reactions among civil society groups in the country who say it's a plan to mismanage public funds. The government has committed to roll out the unique UPI, which will give newborns in Kenya a distinct lifetime registration number by September this year. Micah Gungo reports.
President William Ruto's administration is expected to roll out the unique personal identifier UPI in September this year, which will see the scrapping off of the counting of people during the national census and also give newborns in Kenya a distinct lifetime registration number.
This identity journey must not erect barriers and roadblocks. It must just serve the good purpose of identity for ease of movement, so that using agile technology and identity systems, we can be able to make it much more easy.
Immigration Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok last month said the smart card rollout was tied to the digitization of government services. But governance and political expert Professor Fred Ogola, who doubles up as Operation Linda Ugatuzi Lobby Group's leader, has poked holes on the execution of the UPI, which has full resemblance of their bundled Huduma number. Ogola called on the government to leverage and build on the existing infrastructure provided for through Huduma number.
Now, if all features are the same, why are we wasting money that would have been otherwise put to good use on the same project with a difference only being the name, which means the internal organ of the card we want to print is the same, only the external cover could be called another name.
ICT Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo last month stated that the government does not intend to reintroduce the Huduma number, instead noting that the state will consult stakeholders to arrive at a broadly acceptable and advanced ID.
We are calling on the government to leverage and build on the existing infrastructure provided through the Huduma number.
If they are going to put away the Huduma number thing and come up with the UPI, it means Kenyans will not have just lost 11.2 billion. You add the 11.2 billion to what was used by Uhuru Kenyatta, it comes to around 17 billion shillings.
With the new initiative, the government will provide the necessary policy and regulatory environment for technology and innovation companies to support its quest for smart registration.
The UPI is seeking to do what Huduma number already did, but at exorbitant prices. This is a mega scandal waiting to happen.
Ogola says the new initiative bears an uncanny resemblance to the Huduma number project that was undertaken by former President Uhuru Kenyatta's government. The new noticeable difference between the original Huduma number and the new project, he says, is the name.
So the 11.2 billion shillings is going to the name.
He says Huduma number employs over 1,000 staff countrywide, but with the introduction of the new UPI, those jobs will be lost as the country is allegedly considering to give Pakistan workers the job to execute the project.
We are grappling with high cost of living and tough economic times, and it makes no sense for the president to waste taxpayers' money on a new digital ID project when the Huduma number already exists.
So each and every time akiongea lazima aongelee biashara. Hapa Kenya, rais wetu anasimama anatuambia president wa nchi nyingine ama chancellor atatupatia kazi kutoka hapa. Sisi tutaenda tutafute kazi Germany. Some of us hatuna hata visa ya kwenda Uganda.
The UPI will be a code bearing more details of the child, including the gender. It is an upgrade of the current birth entry number that is issued manually during the registration of new births. Mike Kagwongo, TV 47, Nairobi.
Next generation of the new ID
And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has maintained his strong stand against the consumption of illicit brew in Mount Kenya and the country at large, promising allocation of adequate government machinery and bringing the perpetrators to book. Have a look.
The Upper Eastern Region on Monday hosted Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Interior CS Kithure Kindiki at Kirubia Stadium, Tharaka Nithi County, and the message was clear: consumption of illicit brew in Mount Kenya region was to be dealt with by all means. The role of security officers in the spread of illicit brew also came into focus. Expressing his disappointments to the authorities at the grassroots levels, the DP has directed governors to review all licenses offered to alcohol sellers so as to ensure they all meet the required standards.
Leave the rest to us. And that's all we're asking from leaders. Don't do anything else. Nimutuambie OCS fulani gari yake namba hii na hii ndio nasunguka every Friday kuchukua protection fee. Bas.
Deputy President Rigathi has further reiterated that campaigns against illicit brew should not be left to the government alone, urging communities to partner with the state in effort to protect their children.
They have come up with laws to impound all vehicles carrying drugs and illicit alcohol and forfeit them to the county. They have come up with proposals to shut down forever any establishment selling illicit alcohol and drugs.
On his side, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has promised support from his ministry to stakeholders and agencies like the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, on condition of accountability.
We will increase our budget at the Ministry of Interior to deal with this problem. The same way we have increased our budget in the fight against terror and the fight against bandits. I see no reason why, for example, NACADA should continue being underfunded.
The DP has issued a 10-day ultimatum to the security leaders and chiefs in the Upper Eastern region to ensure illicit brew is wiped out in totality, failure to which is say they will face the law. Jackson Chacha, TV47.
Rounds of applause, rounds of applause.
Now, a church service in Makutano, West Pokot was disrupted after one of the elders suddenly attacked worshippers at the Makutano ACK Church, sparking a free-for-all fight. Calm only returned when police officers intervened in what is believed to have sparked by a leadership tussle. Andrew Juma with more.
Sunday afternoon at the Makutano ACK Church in West Pokot County. The usual church program was in progress until a man stormed the church and set upon the worshippers with his fists and crude weapons in righteous anger. The man, identified as Geoffrey Lotam, an elder of the church, was disappointed at what he termed as disrespect of the church leadership by the congregation and decided to take matters into his own hands.
Kama ukiingia kanisa ukitaka kufanya jambo kwako kwa video kana kwamba hao ndio press ladies. Hiyo ndio sababu, kwa sababu tunajaribu kuambia hata hii kikapu yenu ya sadaka hii ni haramu. Si haitakikani. Fanyeni kwa nje. Hawakutusikia.
Kwa hivyo kuna mgawanyiko mara mbili kanisa.
Kwa mgawanyiko kamili. Lakini wale wako pamoja ni wengi kuliko hao wachache.
This woman received a beating from the elder in the incident. She remains unconvinced whether peace shall return to her church or not.
Wakati nilikuwa naimba na nikastukia tu ananichapa kibogo. Mshariti yenye sijui alitoka naye wapi, na kanisani hatukuangi na mshariti. Sasa wakati hiyo tulikuja kuimba, si tulikuwa tunaimba. Sasa sikujua ni makosa mimi kwenda kanisani kuimba. Na nikakuta tu ananichapa. Kanichapa manyaunyo 3 yenye hata sielewi, hata sikurudisha, nilianua tu mkono na nilikuwa naendelea tu kusimama.
Nikaona tu ameficha unya kukaribia huyu mama hivi, akatoa hapa karibu kwa tumba yake. Na kwanza kucharasa huyu. Kucharasa huyu tunastuka ni nini mbaya? Ni nini? Sasa tukashangaa sasa
vita ikaanza hivyo hivyo.
The man at the center of the violence, Church Elder Geoffrey Lotam, speaks of leadership factions that incite the congregation to disrespect the current leadership.
Jambo la mwisho ningependa kuomba askofu wetu mkuu ambaye ndio askofu wetu wa diocese hii akuja aone mambo ambayo yanatendeka katika diocese yake. Akuja aone mambo yanatendeka kwa diocese yake ili achukue hatua. Kwa vile hii picha hapana imezidi, tumechoka. Sisi kama Wakristo tumechoka.
And a family from Kiamurungi village, Chuka Igamba, Ng'ombe sub-county in Tharaka Nithi County is crying for financial help to save their their loved one who is burdened by the high cost of medical care due to skin cancer, as John Javakiani visited the family and filed the following report.
It is in this home located in Kiamurungi village, Chuka Igamba, Ng'ombe sub-county, Tharaka Nithi County, where we found Stephen Musyoka's wife by the name Stella Mwende busing herself with the household chores as usual. Guests and friends often pay a visit to this home to check the progress of Stephen Musyoka Kimwere, who has been diagnosed with skin cancer. Musyoka, who is blessed with 3 children with his wife Mwende, has battled cancer since 2021.
Mpaka 2021 nikaanza kusikia shida miguu, kuumwa chini. Sasa nilipokatwa kanyama kakapelekwa kwa vipimo Nairobi. Ripoti ilipotoka ikasema niko na kapasokoma, kansa ya ngozi.
Huyo daktari wa Embu akaangalia hizo result. Nazi tulikuwa tunastuka sana. Akamwambia atamtibu lakini asishughulike na mambo ya stinging sana. Ile anashughulika nayo ni kupona. Sasa tukauliza hizi pesa Mungu wangu zitatoka wapi?
From a close look or from a distance, one realizes that Musyoka has got something bothering him due to his health conditions, as the disease has greatly affected his legs and now he has to be helped to move around.
Wakati mwingine inakuwa mchungu kabisa. Inakuwa sasa hata kutoka kwa nyumba ni shida.
The legs really become swollen because the fluid that goes to the legs is not able to come out very well, because those ducts that get this fluid out get blocked by multiplication of these tumors. Tumor itself targets vessels, and the vessels, the cells of the vessels multiply and it develops to be a tumor. So generally you'll see a patient with things that like nodules or big pimples on the legs. They can be multiple.
According to dermatologist Dr. Gasheri Kidhiri from Meru Teaching and Referral Hospital, this type of a cancer known as Kaposa is a rare treatable cancer that can affect people with weakened immune systems, and for those who don't have an immune problem, it can appear on their legs and cause sores and swelling. Dr. Gasheri says with this type of cancer, through the guidance of a doctor and treatment, a large percentage recover from it, further calling on anyone who notices the symptoms of the disease to visit early the center to be examined.
And it's one of the conditions or skin cancers that are very, very well managed. This is those skin cancers that can be treated.
Musyoka has visited several hospitals, but the challenges that come with the high cost of medical care have become a burden for this poor family.
Kama kina mama pia, maana huwa tunamtembelea on and off, huwa tunaongea na yeye ili akubali kwamba mzee ni mgonjwa, amshughulikie vizuri. Unajua kama wewe ni mgonjwa na yule ambaye mnakaa na yeye hajakubali, inakuwa ni shinda kubwa sana.
This family now left at a crossroads because his wife is unable to pay hospital bills as well as to cater for the fees of their children who are now entirely dependent on her.
Siwezi rudi shule. Siendi sema nitafute kazi niende. Juu sasa nikienda siwezi muachanisha.
John Javakiania, TV47, Tharaka Nithi County.
Well, all the best to them. Belgut, Member of Parliament Nelson Koech Monday presented himself for questioning at the Rift Valley Regional DCI headquarters in Nakuru. Koech, who arrived at around 11 a.m., was grilled over the Yeson incident reported on the tea farms belonging to multinational companies in Kericho County, as Chichi Josephine details.
The hate generated by arson incidents on tea farms in Kericho County is now being felt by politicians thought to be behind the attacks. Days after Kericho Governor Eric Mutai was grilled at the Rift Valley Regional DCI headquarters in Nakuru over the same, Belgota Member of Parliament Nelson Koech presented himself at the Rift Valley Regional DCI headquarters for questioning.
I have made my statements on every account of what I know and what I don't know.
Koech is the second Member of Parliament after his Ainamoi counterpart Benjamin Langat to appear before DCI detectives to record a statement after being summoned on June 8th following an arson incident reported to have taken place at the tea farms belonging to multinational companies in Kericho County. Koech, while addressing the media after his 3 hours grilling at the DCI premises, said there has been tension among the people living close to the farms and foreign investors, an issue he said needed to be addressed.
There's an existential threat between the people living close to the multinationals and the tea estates, and of course the multinationals, because of maybe political pronouncements that have been made by sometimes we the politicians, and that aggression is what has led to maybe the destruction of property in the tea estates, and of course the need also to coexist peacefully, as many of us leaders have been telling our locals.
Koech strongly condemned the elders who are alleged to have incited the locals against the multinational companies, urging them to let the leadership of the area engage with the investors and have a peaceful coexistence.
Actually, that group of elders who are part of the team that are now inciting the locals, we need to make sure that any conversation that we'll have with the multinationals is a structured conversation, because we are the representatives of the people. If they allowed us the opportunity, then we will engage better than every other group coming out to say they own part of the multinationals, and in the process inciting the young people who look at the multinationals as their rightful farms.
His lawyer Hilary Sigei noted that they have live petitions before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Senate to deal with the issue, adding that the only solution to the issue is depoliticizing the matter in order to get lasting solutions.
We have live petitions before Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the Senate, which I chair, from, among others, the elders living in Kericho and Bomet and areas where they are claiming legitimate concerns. And that is something that is alive. We are dealing with it at that level. The request that we would make is to depoliticize the whole of this story, because the moment we depoliticize it, we will be able to get lasting solutions, both to the locals and to the investors who are in the 2 counties.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
The Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims has joined other religious organizations in protesting against the proposed regulations of religious organizations by the government, and instead called for self-regulation, while submitting their recommendations and proposals before the Senate Ad Hoc Committee investigating Shakahola deaths. The Muslim leaders decried a double standards application by the government in dealing with Muslim extremists, calling for equal treatment. Moige William reports.
Monday presented an opportunity for the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims to make their submissions before the Senate Ad Hoc Committee investigating the Shakahola tragedy. The committee, which has been collecting views and recommendations of a regulation of religious organizations, was cautioned against allowing the government to interfere with the running of religious organizations. SUPKEM chairperson Hassan Olenado expressing the council's displeasure at what it sees as government plans to regulate religion.
The state has no religion, so we can't invite as religious organization in this country, the state, to be part of the religion.
Each religion should have their own controls and checks. It should have their own regulatory mechanism.
The government also came under fierce criticism over the deaths of Shakahola, even as SUPKEM criticized what it terms as double standards of treatment of Christian religious extremists versus Muslim religious extremists.
Part of what normally radicalizes Muslim youth in this country is the feeling of being seen as not good Kenyans, not true Kenyans. You know, they are seen as people who are not, they don't belong. So, and when you hear the preachings, how these other people preach whenever they recruit the young people, they say, you don't belong.
Amid the ongoing national debate in context to religious organizations, the SUPKEM called for fair application of the rule of law in all organizations. SUPKEM further called for those responsible for the Shakahola tragedy to be swiftly prosecuted.
You say that we should recommend creation of religious crimes, because it's the first time I've heard that terminology, and it's interesting because that's an interesting thinking.
If Mackenzie was a Muslim today, Mackenzie would have not been in court. Let us speak the truth. He could have not been in court. You know where he would have been.
The Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana ad hoc committee is expected to tour different parts of the country and collect more submissions from Kenyans.
There should be equality in the eyes of the law. So they should not be, you should not be seeing that you are being treated that way and the other one is treated that way.
Because every faith is unique. We have our own systems of control and check.
We are determined that Shakahola does not happen again, and we want to do everything and anything possible to prevent this from happening again, and we are looking at all ideas within the mandate of this committee.
Mwigi William, TV 47.
And the Finance and National Planning Committee is set to table its report to the National Assembly for the second reading after a 5-day retreat in Naivasha to file a report on the contentious bill. The controversial housing levy has been reduced to 1.5% from 3%.
The Finance Bill 2023 is scheduled to be presented in Parliament on Tuesday, and following a concession on a number of clauses in the bill by the National Assembly's Finance and Planning Committee, the second reading of the bill is anticipated to take place on Wednesday during a session expected to be heated on the floor of the House. The committee has yielded to public pressure and proposed to have the 3% housing levy reduced to 1.5%, while on the other hand proposing the increase of VAT from 8% to 16% to be retained.
All the feedback that we've got from the public, from the stakeholders, it has been quite a very, very, very engaging conversations. We are going to make amendments to several clauses.
The bill is facing strong opposition from Azimio legislators and many Kenyans politically, though the Azimio side will be disadvantaged on the floor of the House when a vote is taken, as it will be short of 7 MPs who were suspended from Parliament last Thursday following chaos that erupted after Sabina Chege retained her deputy minority whip seat. The bill is facing strong opposition from Azimio legislators and many Kenyans politically, though the Azimio side will be disadvantaged on the floor of the House when a vote is taken, as it will be short of 7 MPs who were suspended from Parliament last Thursday following chaos that erupted after Sabina Chege retained her deputy minority whip seat. The MPs are Millie Odhiambo, Rosa Buyu, Sabina Chege, TJ Kajwang, Fatma Mnyazi, Catherine Omanyo and Joyce Kamene.
This suspension was occasioned by actions and/or utterances by various members of the House contrary to Standing Order 107 and 107A.
After tabling of the report, members' amendments will be considered, and then a vote on each amendment will be taken. Thereafter, it will be subjected to the third reading and final vote, after which the presidential assent, which ought to be done by the 15th of June, when the budget for the financial year 2023-2024 is set to be read, will follow. Flora Limuki, TV 47.
Now, at least 40 students are yet to join grade 7 and Form 1 in the informal settlements of Mukuruku and Jenga in Nairobi County, 5 months since learning began this year. In our special piece, we tell you of the hopes that these learners bear despite not being in a classroom, the heroes who jump the hurdles to teach these learners in makeshift classes and the promises made by the Ministry of Education in the elusive transition by Stanley Nyaringita.
Cedric Luceno peruses through his dictionary and what has become a norm for him after completing his KCPE exams last year. Luceno lives in this small house, tucked in Kayole Estate in Embakasi Central Constituency, Nairobi County, together with his brother Austin Amanja and his father Ernest Mercy. It's now 5 months since the beginning of this year's school calendar, and Luceno explains that he has not been able to progress to Form 1 due to the financial constraints in the family.
Walimu waliniambia hiyo shule nilikuwa nataka kuenda yenye ni Starehe Boys wanachukua around 400 and above. But sasa wakasema since nimepata hiyo marks itabidi niende shule ingine, but still pia yeko poa.
Unajua mimi nasikia vibaya sana mtoto hata bila anashinda hapa. Kwa sababu wenzao wenye walikuwa nasoma nao wote wameshaenda shule. Huyu anashinda hapa sasa nashinda nitafanyaje, nitaanzia wapi?
When we visited them, Austin, a Form 2, had also been sent home to clear his fee arrears for the 10th time since he joined high school. In a bid to keep up with his fellow classmates, Namanja attends a tutorial class nearby with his brother Luceno tagging along. However, the two brothers tell me that whenever they lack the day's fee, 50 Kenyan shillings for weekdays, while 100 Kenyan shillings for weekends, they are forced to stay at home.
Juu public school si rahisi kukutana na walimu. Walimu wanakanga mbali, saa kitambo kukutana na mwalimu direct akueleze kitu kwa hujaelewa inakuwa ngumu.
We started here with the capital that ensured.
An afternoon visit to the tutorial class brings us to this makeshift room. The English lesson has already begun.
I want us to write 5 sentences in direct speech.
And despite the variance in age difference in the 5 students who have attended today, Sam Mwangi, popularly known to everyone here in Kayole as Mwalimu, which translates to teacher, explains the lesson with so much ease.
I love mathematics. Esther C.
Very good.
Mwangi, a graduate from Kenyatta University, began teaching children who were not able to attend school back in 2015. At the time, fresh from his university studies, the primary school teacher was moved by the influx of children who were at home lagging behind in schoolwork.
So nikaona there is that need, I can do something. I cannot take them to school, but at least I can teach them something. They should be teaching mathematics, the sciences and mathematics. So nikaonelea niwafunze hizo kwanza.
Mwangi tells me that when parents in the informal area of Kayole got wind of his free tutorial services to primary school children, he started to receive a huge number of attendees in his house, but had to unfortunately send some away.
Tumepata progress, si ati tujasonga mbele, because nilipata wanafunzi wa primary sasa wengi wenye wako hapa kwa community tu nje. So nikangangana nao, since nafundisha primary sana. So hata kama amesomea nyumbani, akipata tu ile chance shule fulani mregister afanye KCP na perform vizuri. So hadi wazazi wanashukuru, anakuambia teacher umesaidia mtoto wangu, ameperform vizuri.
In this class, the lessons start at 6 p.m. and go for 2 or 3 hours on weekdays, while on weekends it can start as early as 7 a.m. According to Mwangi, this room can sometimes be filled with more than 20 children.
On Monday, I do my own things. That is, naenda shule, nafundisha. Shule yenye nafundisha, tunatokea around 6:45. So since it is not far from here, nakuja 15 minutes nimefika. Kufika, wanafunzi wenyewe wana ufunguo. Kuna mwenye alikuja 5. Anajisomea chenye tulisoma jana.
But how does this affect these learners here?
Sam anatuambianga kitu ya kwanza tukue na positive mind. Tusiweke ati kitu ni ngumu kwa sababu itatukali kuwe ngumu. So mimi nakuwa na hiyo positive mind yenye si ngumu na nitashika.
This even as Cabinet Secretary of Education Ezekiel Machogu in April reiterated that the government has ensured 100% transition in both the junior secondary and senior secondary schools in a number of counties. However, Mwangi refutes these claims, noting that the situation in most informal settlements is dire.
Ni evident watoto kwa kijiji hawaendi shule. They are not going to school. Si mmoja ama wawili ama 10. Of course kama mimi nitafunza wenye naweza. Nitafunza 5 Mostly unaona nafunza wenye nilifunza primary. Niling'ang'ana naye akafanya KCP, so naona ako na future.
As others have the privilege to learn a thing or two in tuition, for others it is a mere dream. Lydia Kamene, who scored 264 marks in her KCPE, spending most of her time helping her mother with house chores. Her mother, Mary Wayuo, still hopes that her daughter will join the second term of the school calendar.
Na mama kwa na pesa kunipeleka shule. Sasa hiyo time yote nimekuwa nikikaa hapa nikimsaidia kazi za nyumbani. After nikifika jioni ninasoma kazi za class 8.
However, Wayuo says that despite filling in a scholarship form to join a public secondary school, the process has proved futile.
Walikuja tukaitwa. Sasa huyu vile tulienda kwa chifu akachukua shule iko moja. Sijui inaitwa aje, kusoma akienda nyumbani. Nikatumwa huko tukapata shule imejaa hii ya government. Mimi nikarudi nikakaa chini. Na nikachanganyikiwa tu na nikasema Mungu yeye akifungua njia shule utaenda. Hivyo ndio nilikuwa namwambia.
From Embakasi Central, we make our way to Embakasi South in Mukuru kwa Njenga slums. Here, we meet Nicholas Maingi, who scored 363 marks in his KCPE exam last year. At the time, it was all smiles and jubilations from the family as well as from neighbors, but with time, the mood changed. Despite getting an acceptance letter to join Homa Bay Boys High School, Maingi can only dream of when he will get to see a classroom door or even wear a new school uniform.
Babangu hakuwa na ile uwezo wa kunilipia school fees ya kuendelea tu nikiwa tu hapo primary. Alikuwa tu ananilipia tu, first of all aniregister tu KCP. Nilikuwa tunaenda tu mara moja shule juu ya kukosa nini karo.
Esther Wariara wears a brave face as sweat trickles down her face, but she ignores it. A clear picture of what is going through her mind.
Huyu kijana alipita mzuri, alikuwa na 363. Lakini kuanzia hapo nikakosa uwezo wa kumpeleka shule. Sasa ile shule niliuliza huko, kaambiwa ninunue uniform hata kama ni day na school fees ikaniremea.
Wariara is a casual laborer in the area and her earnings are not enough to pay for her son's school fees. According to her, even the free secondary schools in the area are still expensive.
There
are various ways that the government caters for their scholarship and the bursary system. Not only what we have in CDF, the counties have also funds that they can be able to support such needy families, and we also have other various forms of scholarships where we are able to assist those who cannot be able to afford fees.
For Nicholas and others like him, they yet to join Form 1 and Grade 7. Their only hope is that the 100% transition will be achieved by the government. Stanley Nyiringita, TV47, here in Mukuru kwa Njenga, Nairobi.
The gentlemen are here. Unfortunately, one of them is not able to make it, but this too will help us decipher in these stories pretty well. I have had them, on set before. They have debated on issues as expected, and I know today they do not fall short of that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for creating time to be with us. There's still so much in the country, but it's budget week, and so we have no choice but to look at matters, finances, and being a Tuesday, we focus on that some more and even extend it to having discussions with SMEs in relation to just how they're handling businesses in the country. So karibu sana as we get to this discussion. We have Eric Regalo. Dr. Thank you so much for creating time, who's a governance expert, as well as the Honorable Member of Parliament of Embakasi North. That is Honorable Jimmy Gakuyu. I was listening to that story that was playing there. There was a lot of Embakasi, and so I waited to see whether there's going to be Embakasi North.
It's not in those other Embakasis.
It's actually not quite an interesting story because, well, of course, there's a specific individual who is doing wonders, but also highlighting the difficulties in terms of people accessing education, you know, is quite a challenge today. And, and therefore, I want to say that perhaps yours is a good space in that.
I would say that, in fact, because, you know, I found the debate in the Mindro, so I couldn't be able to get the whole nitty-gritties of the story.
Yeah.
But in fact, in terms of education in Nairobi, I can say, in fact, we are not very badly off.
Yeah.
It's because there's nowhere in Nairobi that you can find a mud classroom. But you still imagine that there are those schools in this country that actually they are in those old models of mud. You find areas like Nandi Hill.
Yeah.
You can find a classroom which is still under the old fashion of mud.
You know,
I can't imagine.
Ask yourself how.
I can't imagine that actually we are still in that kind of state. People should make sure that actually our children are well motivated everywhere. And even those other areas that are also, you find that there's a situation of where people still study under the trees. This cannot be happening in Kenya. We have a lot of resources, and especially in the area of CDM, where these monies are purely for education and security.
Right.
You can prioritize to make sure that there is always classroom everywhere. You can leave the security to security agencies, but make sure that the students are well taken care of.
And for a moment, Eric Ragalo, even in the budget, prospects are that education is amongst the sectors that is going to receive, you know, funding, and of course in the highest level of it. And you ask yourself, you know, over time, this has been the case, you know, all years. Any finance moment or any financial year, you find that education has gotten the largest allocation, perhaps, or amongst.
Like this year, we have 640 billion.
Imagine, for education. And fine, while we always have issues here and there in relation to the funding process and all that, do you believe that that is our biggest undoing in terms of just getting the education sector right? Because beyond the monies, it looks like we have a policy problem.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you to the viewers of TV47. And it's once again a good morning for us to look into what's happening in our country. Matters education is for any government or any country to proceed into development and get its goals right, it has to take care of education of its citizens. You look at the most educated countries in the world, like Korea, Norway, Denmark. Why am I not saying America?
Why? Tell us.
Those most educated parts of our world, they have ensured that everything is at the level to everyone. What do I mean? When you go to America, still you'll find their levels. There are those people who still live into what they call ghetto areas, and to those people who live in the suburb. You go to Norway, you may not see any ghetto. You go to Korea, that is South Korea, every kid is techno-savvy. They do their exams online, everything is online. First of all, education is a matter of having to look at social aspects of our country. Social aspect per se would require us to ask ourselves, do we need school uniform in schools, first of all? How much is a school uniform?
Quite expensive.
Why would you buy a shirt at 1,500 or even 2,000 for a school-going kid, whereas a shirt in Mutumba is 100 bob, the same shirt? Why would you buy a socks at 500? In Mutumba, a socks is 50 shillings. And why are you supposed to buy clothes at a certain point and you cannot go to any other place? Do we really need uniform?
And you know that's
and the Ruto government has decided, the other day they were talking to EPZ, that EPZ produces uniform for most of the schools. So that's another cartel tendering and making money. Do we really need now?
Do we really need uniforms?
Yes.
Allow us
okay,
we
thanks.
can come back on that very note as to whether we need uniforms. I thought it should be an equalizer. You know, should bring us to the same level and balance after this break.
Okay.
After this break. Yes, we've started off on the note of understanding what really bedevils our education sector. That's triggered by that story, very own, that is Stanley Nyaringita. But equally, you find education stories on the papers every single day. And most of the reports that we have are not good reports. Of course, yesterday we saw one story that spoke to the fact that, well, the monies that were taken to school or disbursed to school were short by around 4 billion based on what was expected by the heads of schools. And they said that, well, if things are not taken care of, then they might be forced to shut down or close the schools because, first of all, they can't manage the high cost of living and in terms of buying foods. And as well, they just can't manage the activities in school and therefore calling upon the government to do the necessary disbursements. But we have started by asking that question, Eric, and you were trying to articulate on whether we really need uniforms or not. I asked.
Linda, why I was saying this, for your kid, my kid, Mheshimiwa's daughter, for example, goes to school, we are picking one person, that is each kid. But if one kid has to go to school, how much is the shoe to the bow tie? Okay? I want to give it 10,000.
Yeah, or even more.
Let me just put it at 10,000.
Yeah.
Pick this 10,000, go to Gikomba Market. How much clothes will you pick?
Lots of it, of clothes.
What we should do is ensure parents just make sure their kids wear decently. So the ministry can say you can wear this way. Okay? For the ladies, you need to cover up to here so that you don't show your, okay? Then kids can go to school. You manage their clothing. Why I'm saying that? The clothes that are given to our kids are materials that, Linda, you can't wear. The trousers tear after 1 month. The shirts just get short. How do I say? When you wear that shirt, other than, you know, when you fua, when you wash, okay, it's supposed to stretch. Other than stretching, they shrink. I don't know which material it is. Then there's also this pullovers. I mean, some of these are substandard clothes. Parents know. The government is aware. But we just sleep on it and decide what waende shule. The clothes kids wear at home, because there's no kid walking naked, let's be honest. Even that kid we say they are naked in Turkana and Samburu and wherever, when they go to school, they go with a uniform.
Yeah.
So which nakedness are we talking about? So if that money that mzee sold a cow to buy uniform, if he sold a cow to buy uniform at 10,000, then he could have bought a lot of mtumba for that.
For that child.
You understand? Okay. So to me, uniform is not education.
Okay.
Okay? Because it's like you're telling me, the way you go to church, at church is a religion. Church is not religion. I mean, clothing in church is not religion. That is one. Two, we are talking about funding.
But also don't forget, in churches, you realize that in case it's a choir or a Sunday school, they have at least a particular
clothing.
Yeah, of course. So I still
to distinguish them from others.
I still want to believe that as much as uniform does not matter a lot, it still gives some color of discipline to.
Yes, there's something about, and I mean, we've had that debate before.
Yes.
What today that we must rise up on is to remove these powers that principals has given themselves. To have what we call cartels of uniform business with business dealers, with those uniform dealers. That's what we should, so that at least you can allow a parent to go to anywhere and buy a school uniform as much as the colors match with what the school require. Because you realize that you'll be forced at any school to go to a certain shop to buy there.
Yes.
And let me tell you, the reason why? Because there is a direct cartel between the principal and the shop there. If we can be able to remove those barriers, allow the parent to do the shopping wherever they want, even in our schools, if there can be a mutumba matching with the school uniform, don't victimize any children because of that. Because we realize, in fact, any school that actually enrolls to a secondary school, actually, the barrier most is the uniform. And you realize the uniform itself will take about the amount of 10,000 as is alluded to. That's a lot of money to a parent. A parent who is supposed to pay about 20,000 for the fees.
Right.
So is it the fees that the parent will fight for, or is the uniform? And let me tell you, the conditionality that a child must enter in that school with the uniform, then is another big barrier. Right. So in this particular case, we must flex and make sure that the students are not pegged to a particular design, a particular shop that they must buy that commodity, that particular uniform. Let it allow the market to dictate wherever a parent can find the best of the price, wherever. Because so that at least even we can give more Kenyans more jobs.
Competitive, yes.
Yes, because today you realize a school which has about 2,000 students depends in one shop. And that one shop could employ 20 more other workers, tailors, to do other business down there. Why do we lock these things? The principle must come out of this embargo. They must allow this business of uniform to become neutral.
Well, it's
what I also wanted to add on, if you want to talk education, you look at the external forces also and the internal forces. Internal forces, I'm looking at teachers themselves as one of the forces that affect education. So how do you remunerate teachers? Are they paid well? Have you checked on their payment and balanced it? Okay? You'll find, and this is happening in the counties, you'll find a teacher who teaches what we call nursery school our time, but nowadays the teachers, they are called what?
The grades, the
PP1, PP2 teachers. They are paid differently depending on which county. And you could see a teacher from another county is earning more than a teacher from another county. Then the commission came here. Remuneration, what commission?
We're actually having a
They
conversation.
climbed down on the payment of nursery school teachers to 7,000, 8,000 ECD teachers from the former 20,000. What are we doing? So you want our kids to develop well, socially, and be taught well when you're reducing their money and you expect them to work well. With the crunch we have today, when you reduce someone's money by 10,000, you've killed that person literally. Okay? That is the external force I'm talking about. Employment, are you disbursing them well? Are they getting to their places? Where do they live? Housing is coming here. Other than me paying money to build a house for whoever, can Ruto then tell me, Eric, your money will be used to build houses in secondary schools and primary schools so that teachers will get houses and the doctors and nurses will get houses in the hospitals. Kitambo, we had a hospital with houses. This issue, and I'm telling you, this issue of me building houses to whoever I don't know, it's annoying me. Ata reduce ikitu to 0.1%.
Let us give it to the president. Let us give it to them.
Even if you reduce to 0.1%.
Makes it even worse because maybe the money is now, how many more years until you attain?
Even if he reduces it to 0.1%, to who am I building the house to? He should tell me, I want to improve the education sector by taking care of housing of teachers and housing of doctors and nurses and housing of police. Now that one will have a conversation. But when you tell me I'm building a house to a human being I don't know, and what I want also to tell Ruto is some of us like Eric don't need those houses because I will not live 100 years to pay that house. Because now, I'm giving an example. He reduces to 1.5%, which I've seen on paper. 1.5%.
Until when?
10,000 person, he will now be paying 150 shillings per month. Hata NHIF sasa ni expensive kuliko hii housing. So now, 150%, hii ni nyumba gani unajenga?
Miaka ngapi?
Ni miaka ngapi? Then I'm asking myself, is it funds you need to run a government? Or is it a house you're building? Ruto is lying to Kenyans. And there is no nyumba here.
You know there's a member of...
Mayor, I can always
vouch for
be in support of Nagaro, but at some point, I differ. And in this mode of housing, I would totally differ with him. One, we have tried how to do housing for police. Go to Kamkunji, go to any areas where Kibaki did housing. Those officers, after those completion of those houses, they have rented them. And they are police officers. They have rented them out.
That's a problem.
Because they want to live their private life and they don't want to live within that vicinity of the station. The same case applies.
That can be argued differently. That can be argued differently because it reminds us of the houses that were accorded to the people of Kibera. And then we asked ourselves, what is the priority? Was it the housing then, or perhaps there's more to the housing that these people would want addressed?
What leader we cannot judge against is that, in fact, these houses, though they are those who are built at Kibera, today they are not vacant.
Yes.
Still Kenyans live in.
Reality Kenyans are
so even though that particular person who was intended to be assisted, thought of to pay business out of it, to me it's okay.
So why is it
one thing, he earns out of that house. And let me tell you, whoever that actually is being rented is equally a Kenyan. Who was having a housing. So I don't have. It could be bad if those houses are vacant.
And so there's no problem if the police as well rent.
I have no problem. What I would say, if a beneficiary thinks of out of the box, I have no problem with that. But initially, you have committed money for to serve particular purpose. Then this purpose has not yielded its purpose because you wanted to have police within their vicinity. So that in case of emergency, that police officer is just within. But actually when he wants to stay 100 kilometers away, and then the surface is away 100 kilometers. Then, to me, that the essence of that particular concept is not working.
Yes.
The same case, remember when we were schooling, there were those quotas of the schools, of the teachers, tutors in our schools. They were there. But you realize most of them were preferring to stay away and leave those quotas there. So this is a catch 50-50, and I would say yes, as much as we prioritize to do those this housing in those particular areas like hospitals, schools, and police, we cannot forget that at least there is various number of society out there which have nowhere to live, and they need this housing like yesterday. And if they can be able to match in this concept, give them an opportunity. You know, one thing that we should also understand is that we are not locking anybody from becoming part of this housing program. Because whether you are in private sector, whether you are where, you can enroll in this program. It does not mean that it is purely for those who are in civil service.
In fact, the bone of contention, Mheshimiwa, and you know this, is the fact that while you are not locking everybody into joining this, you are forcing. It appears as though it's forcing other Kenyans.
But in fact, read in this particular element that we are forcing,
yes.
I don't want to see it, or us to see it in that particular manner.
Yeah.
Can we also ask ourselves, really we want to move on with this housing?
Yes.
And we need to win this battle as quickly as possible. What miracles do we have? We have tried these partners, and even today, that model is going on.
Yeah.
But I have realized these partners are taking almost 3/4. The government is left with only a quarter.
Yeah.
Then we are big losers because we allow this partner, this contractor, who is an investor, to invest. Like now, the buildings that are coming up at Pumwani, you know, we have an investor there who will be at least selling those houses more than half of the houses so that he can repay himself back. Then these houses are not going to go to the right people because he has designed his houses on a better way because they are not this model of the government.
Right.
And his is purely for business. And he will sell at the rate he will agree with these people. Then to me, it's a big loss because what we need is to win 100% of these buildings. How can we win them? We can only win them if we can have a pool of money. Then we use that pool of money, construct these houses, and we own them, all of us.
And Eric asked, adjustments to these, to a lower level, what does that mean? Because initially, people were challenging the 3%
yes,
that we're
in this
about.
case, reader, I would say very simply, lowering it does not dictate that a beneficiary cannot improve his payments.
Okay, they can.
Because you may feel that, reader, your earnings,
okay.
you assume you have started now payment of a particular house, okay? And you have agreed, your house is in Pumwani, room number Z. Enter now and move on in repayment. It is your duty to decide, do I go all that years to repay this house? Or should I reduce this number of years by making sure I pay double of what I'm required to do? So that is your own option as an individual. So it is not locked to anybody. But for me, for those who does not have interest in housing, that at least as only to support the pool, they lose nothing because at the end of the day they'll get their money back. Okay. But for a beneficiary who actually his aim is to own a house, he is not entitled just to go by the amount of 1.5. He can change. He can change. He can double. He can rise, and he can minimize the payment time. If my good friend has a house which is meant for that years. It is not cast on a stone that he must spend 30 years to pay that room. If you can manage 2 years to pay, yes.
Linda, my friend here understand as I understand, and we know very well, the report that went to Naivasha indicated that majority of Kenyans don't want this thing at all in totality. The reality on the ground is what they are refusing to know or to gain into their brains that Kenyans don't want a housing levy.
Whether reduced or not.
Whether reduced or not. Kenyans said no to housing levy. So
how many Kenyans? Because me, I am for that.
Yeah, you are for
I'm
that.
a Kenyan.
Okay, so you are the few.
Nobody has taken put for me.
Okay. You are the few Kenyans who have authority to say no, but majority said no. They don't want this thing, and he's saying it very well. Nitarudishiwa pesa. Why are they putting me in a pool? Who want that pool? Have they consulted me that they put me in a pool?
Eric, deep down.
I don't want to be put in a pool.
Is it skepticism that is a problem here? The fear of the unknown? Or you think genuinely Kenyans do not want these houses? Because
Kenyans do.
I'd tell you, they're going to make it easy.
Kenyans don't want this house.
Don't they want the houses, or it is fear that, well, maybe I'm going to put my money and I don't even know whether I'm going to get returns? And I mean, those are the questions that have been making rounds. Just what is the guarantee that eventually there's going to be a house? What is the guarantee that my monies are going to be, handled in the best way possible? That I will.
The question is, you take my money, you put it in a pool. When I want to get my money back, you want to tax the same money. Why are you doing that? First of all, why are you taxing my money, which you took without...
Which was a tax.
Which was more or less a tax. How do you tax a tax?
You can be only taxed if you are earning out of that.
Listen.
No, once you are getting your refund, you are getting in what we call interest.
No, there's no interest.
Who has said not? Who has said?
That's what I'm saying.
It's going to be an interest.
So there's an interest. So okay, if there's an interest, how are they doing business with my money to gain an interest? Because I know then.
So it's basically what you were saying, that government needed money to
do business. They didn't want to build houses.
They
just want to have money from me to run a government. This government is poor, and they are mismanaging money.
What would be wrong with that? If eventually it's going to be for the benefit.
They are going on a wrong road to find money by taxing what is not right. Okay. A government should provide education. They are not supposed to tax you for education. A government should provide you health. They will not tell you, I will be removing 500 shillings so that when you sick, or you will always get health free. You understand? They should provide this because it's a package when you're being taxed. You see that 16%, what is it for? 16%, what is it for? Those taxable things, what are they for? To provide these other commodities. So when they tax you one, telling you with this one you are picking for a house, and they are not even taxing you, they're taking your money to a certain fund. What is a fund? What do you know about a fund?
Who is managing it?
Who is managing a fund? And then, how are they accruing profit from a fund? Is it a merry-go-round? Is it a DESI thing?
DESI was
I'm just giving you that. Is it a pyramid scheme?
It's not a pyramid scheme.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking like a stupid Kenyan.
He's perhaps answering.
Yes. Is it a pyramid scheme where now you will start, somebody comes? So because why I'm asking if it is a pyramid scheme, then how are they making this money to build houses? Then how will they make money again to pay me back my money? And how will they accrue that nobody will get a loss? Government will not go to a loss, nor me. So what they will do, they want to tax me when they are paying me back my money so that they keep their fund afloat, so that in case they cover against losses which they are supposed to undergo, and then the inflation of Kenya shilling.
Eric, if we're looking at 7 years or even 10, perhaps this government will not be on. And
the next government will stop this thing.
Is it?
Yes. And that one I can tell you. That one I can tell you it will stop this.
But I can
na pesa ya watu linda itapotelea hapa ndani. Hii ni ukweli.
We are in record, and let me tell you.
Record gani?
No, let me tell you. It is a public domain.
Yes.
That even your boss, Baba himself, at his campaign trail, the issue to do with the housing,
they mentioned
his model was exactly this.
And perhaps that's why
it was not picking fund from people. It was continuing with the model.
Levy. What is levy? And he was talking of levy, my good friend.
And remember during the BBI conversation as well.
It's only that today,
but at least,
reader, as a politicians, we always change goalposts. When it does not fit you, it is totally negative to you. But when it fits you, it is positive to you.
But when now it does not fit the people and the people...
But I can tell you, leader, there are only few who are complaining about it. There are only few. And those are my good friend. Yes. So we cannot start such a program to the majority of Kenyans.
So these adjustments made by the president, and some would appreciate, and unfortunately, one that you have not liked for the longest of time, that is on the fuel, has not received any form of adjustments. What then was the process?
Yes.
What exactly is the process of looking at the finance bill, you know, making sure that it is all orchestrated, presented to Parliament for first, second reading, for people to go through this public participation process? If really at the prerogative of the president, then adjustments are done.
One thing, let us agree on one thing. The bill, on the way it was crafted, it has made a lot of adjustments. And those adjustments are so dear to most of the Kenyans. One is those who are doing what we call digital content. Actually, that was a big catch on demanding like 15% from every single payment. And in this case, I would say reducing that level, that tax from 15 to 5 is a clear, good adjustment to that particular field.
Yeah.
Number two is that there are many other areas of concern where also deductions were done. And I can tell you, reader, you, as much as you belong in this country, this country, you cannot expect that it will be able to run government from anywhere else. It must depend on taxpayer.
Yeah.
It must widen the base.
Yeah.
If it has budgets that actually it has to fit, because Kenyans need the services back. And they cannot have a single government, which is just a government for the current expenditure only. They would need services back to them. How would they arrive to realize that if this government makes a loss every other year? So how does this tighten their belt? It's only looking on the areas they can expand what we call revenue base, so that it can be able to collect more, and they can be able to fit their budget within their financial years. In this case, I want to say very simple. Let us not talk about issue of the housing, but let us come to this issue of what you call cost of living. I have no problem with the areas that the government has taken concern. One is those we call agricultural inputs. It has zero-rated that area. No tax for a fertilizer and those other farm commodities. We have an area to do with area of our young people, and this is electronic motorcycles and so on. Yeah. That's another flexibility where youth can be able to earn these bicycles on a cheaper way and also survive in a cheaper way. There is issue to do with pharmaceuticals. Actually, in our hospitals, leader, moving, you may not be able to understand that actually what we call medicine has gone to a level when you compare Cuba or India with Kenya, it's almost 20 times. How do we do? Because we have a population of 1 billion Indians. Here we are only millions. And we, at the level we are in the cost of medicines, is that actually not many of us who can afford. How do we go about it? Is it to go that route of maybe relating that element of pharmaceutical products? And I think that's, but in fact, as you do this, you must also look at other areas where to also collect, because there is areas of minus and we must create areas of plus. The only area that I would say that it is not what taken care of is fuel, because fuel will rob all other goods that actually has been found by this bill. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you want housing, you put the fuel to 60%, then directly we're going to say the products that actually are going to be used in housing are going to skyrocket, because those who supplies sand, they will multiply. Those who supplies areas to do with the dust, ballast, and all those other building materials, they will skyrocket. And therefore, they will also make things hard. I would say, yes, as much as those other areas have been taken care of, the fuel, we may not move to 16, but at least look for another small percentage that we can top up.
Yeah.
And we go gradually. And my proposal is that we go up to 10% and we cut it there, so that at least the life can be billable.
Yeah.
But still the fuel at 16, even by giving Kenyans whatever price, it will be robbed by that element.
Okay, well,
Linda,
we'll take a short break.
Linda,
Take a short
okay.
break. Then come back on that. I have seen you laugh sarcastically. There must be a reason why you are what it is that Moshe is saying.
No, he's always an opposition.
For us to go through civic education, number one, it is very important that even before you are accorded civic education, you take your time to understand, this document and understand what procedures perhaps a bill, is supposed to go through, and in particular the finance bill, which is not new. They say it's, as Professor Macharia Munene would call it, it's an annual ritual, in that, every financier, these conversations are always there. The only beautiful thing with this time around is that now the public is, aggressively involved in this whole conversation. And, that's the reason why I asked Eric, what processes then does, say, for instance, the finance bill go through? Because then at this point, if we're going to have these adjustments, and perhaps the Constitution does not stop that, what exactly are we saying? That maybe
first and foremost, Linda, before you pass the baton to me, let me just explain.
30 seconds.
No, I'm a sitting member. Why?
But I'm the representative of the people. You can say
kindly, you have your time.
Eric, we'll give you that time, yes. Because you're two of you.
Linda, I can tell you for sure. The law is very clear.
Yeah.
Today, we may not even pass our budgetary allocations. In case of such a scenario, we will refer back to the last financial year's budget.
Okay.
Otherwise, there will be no lacuna, no vacuum.
Okay.
In case we have got to stalemate of this finance bill and it's shut down, we cannot be stagnant. We cannot be quagmire. We refer
to the previous
one.
Okay.
That's how the law states.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, as much as the procedure is concerned, let me allow him to elaborate.
Linda, you in your statement you're saying very well that this budget has a lot of following from Kenyans, and I will tell you why. First of all, the Ruto government came in. It was a government people didn't want.
Is it?
Yes. You will see. You will see. The rating is not supposed to be told by you. It's a rating you can see. How can a government at 6 months, people are fighting it like this? Not politicians, but people, everyone at 6 months.
But
why?
nobody
a government at 6 months.
Taxes is money. And whatever
I wish you can let me
whatever
finish.
the conversation of money.
I wish you can let me.
No, but Lagalo, you know you are a taxpayer. And I know you are paying. You are paying to pay more.
I need to explain.
This country is not going to be built by anybody else. It is regardless of this Kenya.
I need to explain. At 6 months, the government should be having honeymoon with its Kenyans, having goodies. I want to give you an example. A government of 2002 came in a negative account. But at 6 months, it was performing so well with the people. People just loved it. They had free primary education that came in. People were actually assisting Kibaki to govern. They were holding and taking police who were picking bribes. Wanawashika, hautafanya hivi, nyindo mnaharibia Kibaki. You remember? The government was actually for the people and with the people. That was the government. That's how a government gets in, before it loses utamu.
Yeah.
If you're married today, it is utamu 5-6 years. It is honeymoon. How can a government lose honeymoon in 1 month? So now, the government came in with lies, innuendo, and manipulation. The first thing we saw, immediately the government, I'm giving you a history, how the government lost it.
Linda, when they not correct, allow me
okay, please, let me finish. You'll have your time.
He wants to interject because then
in the first 3 months, everyone's cases just got lost. Even the another case is now getting lost. It's about to get lost. Monica Juma, I think it's Monica, somebody's case.
Is here. Okay, well.
It's getting lost, okay? From
Lillian, the NYS.
Lillian, yes, NYS or something.
Yes.
It's going to get lost. People saw that. People questioned. Then from there, the lies that were done in election came to pass. Where are the Pampers for the women? Where is NHIF by December? I'm giving very simple things that don't need parliament. This needs only to write an executive order and it is done. Where are the Pampers for kids up to 3 months? You told women when you had the women conference toward your election.
How can you
so when you lie to people,
yes.
People become now, they watch every step you make with a toothpick.
These individuals
now,
legally installed in the specific offices. And so when you say that cases are lost, and it's
cases are lost,
of the DPP
yes,
to establish whether a case holds water or not.
And so they were holding water when Uhuru was in the government. Then they lost holding water. So when Uhuru left,
were politically instigated.
So when Uhuru left, so the cases
they no longer. There's no valid evidence presented.
The covalent bonding of water got lost, and the hydrogen left from oxygen.
Well,
two particles this side of oxygen and one particle of hydrogen. So that's how. I'm just asking such a question, and it is done. Now come to financial bill. If you lost it that way, coming to financial bill, people are asking themselves, the money that you've been bringing into your government, up to now you've asked for 1 trillion Kenya shillings as a loan. What have you done? Have people not asked that? People have asked.
Yeah.
When you took away Kazi kwa Vijana, the monies that were paying Kazi kwa Vijana kids, I mean the young boys and girls, youths, where did you take the money? When you took away money from what do you call fuel whatever, and unga whatever, okay? Where did you take the money? All these monies that
were taken to other use.
And there are other uses, but which uses are these? Things stopped. If there were other uses, monies that were paying civil servants, why are they not there?
Why who is a civil servant? Who is who has not attained his salary?
You know what I'm talking about, Mheshimiwa.
We have only a single crisis of 1 month.
So that crisis should never have been there if you are prudently managing the government. That's what I'm saying, prudent. So now you bring this financial bill. When you bring it, what you've done, you've reduced taxes, or rather removed taxes to people who are very few, who their taxation is so minute. Like now, VAT on fuel remains because that one will bring billions and trillions of money. That one you cannot remove. Housing fund, you reduce it because of pressure, but it will maintain against people's wish. Content creators, you cannot reduce. It's unimaginable, even if you are to reduce 15% to 5%. So this one cannot hold any water. The money is so little. How many content creators anyway do we have that will be taxable to a money that is responsibly enough?
But
so 5%.
Every money is money.
We cannot argue that way.
No, we are arguing.
Why do you say
every single point is
yes, but my argument is
that retro makes
my argument is 15% content creator you remove to 5%. If the money was very important, you could have reduced the same way you've reduced housing. You remove 1%. You can remove 10%, then you are not serious.
Because it was courtesy of the public outcry.
Which public outcry when you see content creator showing us money? Eric Omondi showed us money the way he's money.
So you agree that to a large extent.
So now these guys show us the way they are wealthy.
Yes.
These guys show us big vehicles.
Yes.
They want to show us vile wanaishi vizuri. But then you reduce them to 5%, but Mkenya wa kawaida mwenye anateseka unamrudishia 1.5%. The content creator Omondi Eric showed us not briefcase, what that thing called? Me, I don't know because I can't hold such a thing in my house. Yes. They were competing with Sonko to show money. Then you want to reduce Eric's money to 5%. Then you are lying to me. Why don't you reduce it better on housing? Then you could put housing 0.5%. But from there, you maintain insurance, and some levy you maintain, but reduce, in fact, export levy, you increase export levy to 17%. Who is exporting?
One thing, he must...
You remove money from, the employer. I just want to make him when he comes back, I want him to rebut this nicely. You remove money that you're taxing the employer against housing levy, okay?
Yes.
You leave it to the employee. But now you hit employer further.
They say it's being left.
You hit employer further. Let me show you how it happens. You hit the employer further by adding 57% to his export levy. Right. So anything that is sold abroad is going to be very expensive. And you see this levy, it's going to be...
That is wrong interpretation.
Okay, show me.
Reader will start there.
Yes, thank you.
The point he's talking about, 17%, is areas where importers import those commodities that we have available materials within our country. It is not what we are exporting out. What? Yes. No.
Elaborate further.
It should be very clear. The 17% is areas like clinker, billets, anything else that we import from outside.
No, it is export.
No, it's not.
Export
standard
levy.
Well.
Export levy.
Yes.
10%.
It is known as export levy.
17, yes.
It is known as export levy.
But it is
those.
It is in relation.
Those commodities that are being imported. It's not those who are exported. Understand this?
Okay.
Yes.
So what is import?
And let me tell you.
What is?
Allow me to explain.
Explain me.
There before, there was a proposal of 20%.
Yes.
To lift them up to 20% threshold. And then the treasuries and the public participation bring an issue where it was dropped from 20 to 10. And this, I am telling you, is the area of steel, where you have billets, and where you have cement, then we have what we call clinkers, and other things that actually we import from outside. Pushing it to 17, to me, it is still a big plus to us, because what we are saying, we are protecting our local manufacturers. With the 17. Right. Anybody else who feels that he cannot use our local materials, now he can import and face the Acts of 17 so that we can have at least a balance.
And
the local money,
is still on making sure that we reduce on the imports.
I am telling you, this is, understand it very clear.
Yes.
That is what that particular tax talks about. Yes.
Okay.
And if we go to what we call now the itemized things that are within that cluster, they are those what I'm explaining to you.
Yeah.
And that is where you got, you import, even, those are the commodities that at least we do have availability of materials locally. Yes. Anything else that we're exporting like tea, they have exempted.
Yes.
Yes. Even tea itself, we have exempting that particular tax of export.
Yeah.
But to understand, so that the Kenyans can understand very clearly, that export tax is not any product which is going out. It is those products that comes in, but in that line, it cannot be known as import.
Okay.
That's why it's been put as export.
Export levy.
Export.
All right. I think we have some assignment here, Eric.
Yes.
Regalo.
And number two,
yes.
I move also to digital. And also to support other young youths which are coming up to that particular digital contact field.
Right.
You cannot put them at the class of that person he's talking about. It's okay. But as much as every other Kenya, he has a freedom to join that field, that business of Eric Omondi and so on. We cannot say because Eric Omondi is so rich that we tax him at 15 and we also rock anybody else who is upcoming.
Yeah.
Yes, let's have at least a balancing field. And let us not say that we must go for those who have already earned. Because this field must be left flexible so that it can be able to encourage more and more other field players to become Omondis of tomorrow.
Yes.
And I think that that's the essence of reducing from 15 to 5, so that those other upcoming also can have flexibility to come into those businesses.
And that's the reason why I asked, Mheshimiwa, if these conversations really can happen at the floor of the House during the time of the voting. Why is it that then the adjustments are being done right now before the voting process? Why not allow it go through the full cycle? Or is it the process of just making sure that we set the situation so that eventually the document that goes there, will sail without...
What we must give is that, remember, the National Assembly is a setup of various departmental committees. Those departmental committees have their duty to take care of the budgets of their sector. And the Business of Finance Committee, their mandate is this bill. And as much as they require to report to the House, they must come with what they have discussed and agreed as a committee.
Yes.
But that does not mean the chamber has no say. Everything will stop at the chamber. Today, there is a discussion of how to share resources to various sectors. Today, that is from the Budget Committee. Okay?
Yes.
And let me tell you, whatever this Budget Committee approves at their committee stage is subject to be at least taken through by the rest of the members at the floor of the House. And the members are the final to say, this is okay, we can pass it as it is, or else we are going to amend it from this version to the next version. So that mandate is left final whistle. It's the floor of the House. So even this finance bill comes in, the Finance Committee will table their findings. But their findings does not lock the chamber to discuss and amend more.
Okay.
And the Speaker cannot dictate the House to go any other route. That is the standing order.
Fair enough. And this, I accept the challenge, Eric, for us to delve deep into understanding what an export levy is. As what is written here, they say a special levy is, description. What is export levy? A special levy in a non-tax levy on certain export goods. Unlike an export tax, the special levy is not intended to finance general government expenditure, but rather to benefit the group on which the special levy was imposed. Also this one, a tax that a country imposes on its exports, which makes them more expensive. Export levies may encourage domestic consumption of domestically produced goods. They are less rare than import tariffs and, of course, see all import substitution industrialization. My understanding of this is that, well, you have a point, but equally, Mheshimiwa, has a point. I think in this case, it is to encourage
consumption
within.
The question, that's how I was asking.
Local consumption,
that is, yes, local consumption.
So let us not see our coffee go outside, but let us, as well, make sure that there's plenty at home before it goes outside to benefit the people out there. Or what?
Coffee, you may not put it that.
Coffee is just a by the way.
Coffee is just a by the way.
That is just one thing.
Because the coffee we take is actually is substandard.
Yeah.
The real coffee.
How comes the substandard?
The real coffee is exported.
Naambia mheshimiwa anapinga vitu anajua. Ye anakunywanga chai wapi? Ule mama mboga ananunuanga kofi gani? Kahawa number 1. Iyo wanaitanga aje tukipik coffee na une mkikuyu. Wanaitanga bishi. Wanaitanga?
Leader in short.
Bishi ndio kahawa number 1.
Is there anybody who at least puts a caveat from any Kenyans to consume the kahawa grade 1? It is because all the grades are available
in the market.
Yes, it is your choice.
So what I'm trying to say, yes. he takes it as if napinga kila kitu anasema. I'm supporting him. They are there, but the reach for Kenya for kahawa grade 1, the one that he's talking about, it's almost not possible. That kahawa is so expensive.
Quite expensive.
You understand? Yeah. So what I was talking about export.
Expensive for locals, but not accepting for outsiders.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
how do you make it cheaper?
It means that the outsiders are more well up, they can afford it.
Yes.
As we are so poor, we cannot afford it.
Yes.
So we got to have a choice.
Yes. Okay. So, yes, that is true. What he's saying is really true. Yeah? It is expensive, though they can afford it.
So when you make it expensive to export,
so now, yes,
perhaps we'll be forced to as well.
No, yes. You need to cushion Kenyans against external affliction. You want to increase excise duty, export duty. Fine, products from Kenya to other parts of the world should be expensive.
This is export levy.
No, yes, I'm trying to make it easier. Mheshimiwa leo umenipinga katikati hata unafanya nakosa stream of thought. So now what is happening here? The EPZ produces jeans that goes to America. They put Lee here, then they bring it back. Umevaa Savuko, you remember Savuko?
Savuko jeans,
inakuja sasa ni expensive sana. Yeah. So that jeans should go expensive. But now, the same mutumba that is in the market
is the
same jeans, but now very cheap. Yeah. Jinare ni punch, jinare ni so tatu. You understand? But EPZ will not sell you jeans at 300.
It will be very expensive.
So it's still expensive. What I'm trying to tell Mheshimiwa, of course the idea is okay. I don't refuse. My problem was here. It will still be expensive for a Kenyan to buy the clothes.
Consume it.
You understand here? I want to give you another example. Samaki ya Lake Victoria. How much is fish in Kisumu?
Very expensive.
Honesty, very expensive.
Extremely expensive.
How much is fish from China?
Pretty much.
Zinakwanga kared. Unaona hapa karibu na nini? Hapa unaona jicho hapa iko lakini hapa kakitu kanakwanga na kared hapa.
Unakulanga samaki.
But I'm giving you example. I'm just giving example of market.
Actually, you know this good friend of mine, even though actually he's a resident of Luiro, actually his native area is that
Alego Usonga.
Lake region. Yeah. And he can just tell us very clearly what makes a fish of Kenya, like Victoria, thrice expensive than the fish all the way from China.
This is what I'm saying.
And let me tell you, this fish does not require fertilizer to grow. This fish does not eat anybody's fertilizer or anything. Actually, they are God grown.
Why
are they so expensive? I mean, is it not that actually our local dealers are the ones who are just exploiting the other Kenyans?
What I'm trying to tell Mheshimiwa, the fish in Kisumu will be very expensive. Yeah. Then you'll find the fish from China, which comes and infiltrates our market. Because Kenyan fish is better than Chinese fish. That's
by far, taste and all that.
Taste and all that. So now, what imports are coming in that are very cheap. But now our export is going to be expensive so that you may consume our internal product. But are they Are they
Affordable.
affordable? Another
Are
very
they going
good,
to regulate
a very,
markets
another
such
very
that-
good example.
Yeah.
We produce hide and skin. We make our shoes akina Bata, okay? Akina Balozi. You remember there was a there was a Balozi shoe. How much is a safari boot ya Balozi
Very expensive.
and safari boot ya Bata? Can you afford? Of course not.
No.
But can you afford a Mtumba shoe?
Yes.
Yes. So the issue here, it's
Balance
not
the
even,
market,
it's
even
not even
locally.
export duty.
Yeah.
Is affordability within the market. Okay? Can you afford a suit in Kenya? Suit ni pesa ngapi yenye umeshonewa na Odhiambo pale Kenyatta Market? Suit ni pesa ngapi?
Bekali.
Na ya Mtush. Then why would you go for a suit Kenyatta Market? So issue is not anything other than our local production. Aya, kitenge ya Kenya ni pesa ngapi imetoka Rivertex?
Very expensive.
Aya, tulikuwa tunaita Uhuru wa Mashati, which was a very nice name. I don't think someone should get mad with it. Uhuru wa Mashati, because alikuwa ametupatia style ya mashati. Jamaa alikuwa anadunga shati thoroughly.
Local.
Hiyo shati yake endo ununue. How much is that shirt? Na hiyo shati utaipata kwa mtumba zenye imetoka China. Almost the same. Inatoka do ngapi?
But
that's what I'm asking in Sheikh. Inatoka do ngapi?
Allow me, give me a point to explain. Just a minute. One, do we want to come out of that particular quagmire?
Yes.
How do we come out of it?
There's always
One,
beginning.
we must get back to where we lost our local production. One, cotton. The cotton that we are producing locally is quite minimal. That Rivertex depends on imports of cotton. And whatever you import, then you must also understand it comes in costly. So we must maximize our local base of cotton production. That's one. Number two, if we want our garments to be cheaper, it's only that we maximize that area of our local cotton production.
Yeah.
If we have enough, then it will lower the cost. But if we keep on importing materials to build these garments, then there's no single day you arrive to the point that you can be able to
So
compare.
we have to begin from somewhere.
Somewhere.
Which is now.
And what we are saying, in our value chains, because these garments have what we call a value chain products, we must make sure that if it's agriculture, it does. Then make sure that you budget, finance them, make sure that actually they deal with cotton production, then leave the chain of Rivertex to do what we call processing.
Okay.
Do you know that Kenya produces more avocado than any other part in the world? Kenya is number one. So
Morocco does.
No.
Morocco where
Kenya
does a lot of avocado.
And there is
Kenya
nothing.
is Kenya is number one.
Yeah.
Ethiopia is number one in coffee. You understand, because Ethiopia and coffee, you know
Arabica.
that. But actually, Kenya is number one. You can Google. Kenya is number one producer of avocado in Africa. Let me say,
Right.
in Africa. So you want to levy this thing avocado at 17%. Yeah, avocado tutakula.
Itakuwa ngumu.
But
avocado tutakula.
In fact, in this understanding, and that is my understanding, reader.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the 17% tax levy is not going to affect any commodity that we export. That one I am telling you. To my explanation.
So what will it
to my understanding is that the 70% will move to those products that come from outside, but not to those we are exporting.
How? We're almost close. Allow us to take a short break. Allow us to take a
Because that is my understanding on this. And I would like you to call a lawyer here who will be able to explain this thoroughly.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Let's take a short break and then we come back. members of parliament have understood what they are getting themselves into, or they are getting Kenyans into. And so it is at the voting beat that we'll perhaps understand this more. I know, Eric Regalo, perhaps you do not have a lot of satisfaction in relation to...
But his vote is here.
It's basically here.
His vote is basically here.
Right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, then, well, we are here to understand some more on the export levy and some more on the adjustments that have been made on the housing levy, the adjustments that, well, are likely to play out, if at all, if there's going to be any at the level of parliament. And it's one by one, Mheshimiwa, you say.
I am telling for sure, though there will be a lot of amendments that will be raised by the members. Yes. And these members must make sure that the amendments has reached the speaker in good time. Yeah. This must be 7 days before that voting day. So anybody who has amendments, they are already at the speaker's stage.
Yes.
Anybody who will bring them from now going forward, it may not see the light of the day. We expect that the voting day will be...
the actual day of the budget, or what?
Today, there is most likely that actually the finance bill will be led the second reading.
Or tomorrow.
Or tomorrow.
From what I hear, today
yes.
or tomorrow, yes.
But after that, then the House has mechanism. They may shorten the dates, the number of days, to bring the bill for the third reading. It may be shortened from the normal 30 days to a 7 day or 3 days. Okay. Or even that jurisdiction is within the powers, with the powers, even 1 day. That can. Because that's not the powers of the speaker, the powers of the chamber. Because there has to be a vote toward that direct proposal.
Okay. Yes. Fair enough. Can we shelve this one for a minute or so? I had you speak, or I had you saying that the president is basically doing what it is that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga has proposed before, and maybe what the Uhuru Kenyatta government has proposed before. And in that case, then, it justifies one of the headlines yesterday. It is the president who is following exactly on the footsteps of the...
I can tell you, Rita, and let us agree on one thing. In terms of leadership, one, there can be those proposals of taking the country forward. And if your predecessor had them, that actually he was able to implement to fully, and they are still valid.
Yes.
There's no way you can skip them, bring you a new one, which will not earn the fruit. So in this case, I would just say, issue to do with housing, it was a very good project, even during Kenyatta regime. It's only that actually we didn't maximize it because of fundings. And the element of funding which brought issues is the same where we are in Kogimaya. If we can get out of this Kogimaya, then we have this what we call a pool of funds. I am sure that the housing will move on. And I have been always saying, in housing, we earn a lot as Kenyans. Because those who are in manufacturing, they will sell products to this housing sector. Those who are in Juakari, they will also have their take. Because they will do what we call those doors, those windows, and everything else. Because the housing is a standardized way, so if the measurement of one window is equivalent to another window, so that chain can do well, and Juakari people can also get an opportunity of job there as a suppliers. Number 3, we have also jobless Kenyans, where in these sites they will get jobs, daily jobs. And number 4, Kenyans will earn houses. And this one, let us agree, whether my good friend is out of this context or not, there are many of those Kenyans who does not want to live forever renting houses. They just want to own. How do they come to own if they cannot be able to build one of their own? They can only do this kind of a process. And I think it's quite okay. And we must leave those few who are against it to have their way. But we must give those who are willing to go that direction to have their way.
Linda, Kenyans need sustainable jobs. Sustainable jobs. You read on paper, there is the best first-class honors ICT student hanged himself, died yesterday. Why? The reason was he didn't ever got a job. Remember, first-class honors. He looked for job everywhere.
Why do this?
He didn't get a job. So you wanted him to go and do a job in Mjengo? ya mjengo ya housing. What I'm trying to say, Linda, in 2002, I'm going back to Kibaki. Kibaki did what we knew best when he got the country at negative. ESP, Economic Stimulus Package. One of the ways to revamp economy, which they said they walipata economy iko chini, if true, and they are revamping economy, is to inject freshness in the job sector. Okay? Kibaki went and gave employment to youths under contract for 2 years, which was either you sign again after 2 years if the opportunity is not there, or you are sucked into the system, which is the system of Public Service Commission. You understand? So you are in this Public Service Commission, but are waiting full employment. So ESP gave you a certain amount of money to run for 2 years as your employment is being taken care of by the government. So if really they got a country down, how many ESP have they employed? If they want to employ watoto wenye wamesoma na madegree kwa mjei, I say no to housing.
And unfortunately...
So let me finish. You had your 4 or 5 points, bro. See,
I have no problem.
Yes, let me finish my point. Secondly,
don't take too long.
Ruto came in and abolished subsidy even for unga. And he really demonized unga and said unga was high because handshake was doing it. So unga is low at 200 and something. So sukari is low when sukari is clenching to 500. Inauliza hata 500 tutafika lini? So economy is bad when the dollar now is buying at 150, selling at 139.80, sorry. I follow the dollar every day because I have an interest. I'm a businessman. So Uhuru handshake was finishing economy. Ruto and handshake is massaging economy. Tell me, Linda, why would unga be that expensive if it is Raila mwenye alienda kuconfuse Uhuru akaanza kuweka vitu vibaya? See, that's what they say.
Benefit of the doubt.
No, subsidy. The only subsidy they have not removed, and they fear removing, near fuel. Subsidy on petroleum. Why haven't they removed that subsidy? Because they are the masters of removal of subsidies.
Even though it's quite expensive.
Yes, why have they not removed it?
Not much of an impact.
Okay, why have they not removed it? Because they know what it will do. So he is following at Uhuru and still demonizing the same Uhuru. The same Uhuru handshake did this, but the same Uhuru is the one I'm following. Okay, how is he following Uhuru? He maintained subsidy for petroleum. He's still following Uhuru. He is coming for housing, which he demonized Uhuru with Mudavadi. Actually, Mudavadi proposing 1%, even more, was less, but now they are following Uhuru. But the same housing was really bad to him. They are following Uhuru on this. They are following Uhuru on BBI. The same 1 shilling, 1 man, 1 vote was very bad. And they made Mount Kenya people make noise against BBI. But right now, in Mount Kenya there, the same guys, Akina Ndindi, who said it was bad, they're the same saying, 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. They are following Uhuru. So this Uhuru, kumbe mtu mwenye anakaa Uhuru ni mzuri, because yeye alipigwa na sasa wanafuata Kenya yeye alisema.
Actually, leader, and I must always in agreement that he has every right to support the handshake. He was part of it, and he was member of it. So supporting Uhuru's policies and this administration that actually we have copied, I have just explained here that we are picking what is necessary, because you cannot start new policies if there is a working policies already in place. And I can tell you, immediately you took over any government, you take over even the abilities. That behind, whether it was debts, whether it was what he undertook. And at this point I would say, whatever good was there in that package of Uhuru, we ran away with it. Of course, what was anything that actually could be not straight, we can straighten it and make it working. That does not mean the whole government of Uhuru was wrong side. No. And nobody was condemning it wholly. It's only that actually area of housing, we expected that much number of houses, but we never realized that goal because there were handles. We are trying to unlock those handles so that at least we can get there. How do we get there if actually my good friend is having this kind of negative thinking that actually Apuru is not anywhere necessary?
Linda, if I may ask you, then if it is working, then why is NHIF not being paid to hospitals, and why are patients hurting in a working government? Do you know you guys came with that mind of sisi ni genius?
The monies were released the other day.
He even told Raila to the face, unaweza nishinda mambo ya historia, but mambo economy weze nishinda. But NHIF, by the time you're releasing money, should patient hurt? You know kuna kitu hapa atuelewane.
Manake, they've been functioning on the budget of the previous government, and finally.
But that government of the previous government, NHIF was being paid.
It is well.
Then if they've been functioning on the budget of the previous panel, then why is NHIF unlocking now?
Let me this, and I want to be very categorical on this. And I have repeated twice and thrice in this particular forum that one, as we agitate to go for more taxes from Kenyans, first we must make sure that we straighten our service delivery to Kenyans.
That's for sure.
One area is that area of NHIF. That's a bima, that's an insurance. You must make sure that there is no handles in terms of a patient looks for service in any accredited service station. That has to be clear. Issue to do with the NSSF, Kenyans must not be timing for a year after retirement without getting to their dues. We must make sure that we digitalize that process. Once you insert it, it will be able to give you a response. It will also supposed to give you your date when you can step into the account and get your money. If you're not going to streamline this, then you will be taking Kenyans to circle. And I am telling you, I am of the opinion leader that, yes, every government is a government that will take into account to what it did to its citizens. And the only business we have between the citizens and the government is service delivery.
Yeah.
So what do we need? We need those services. So let us pay taxes and make sure that we task our government to give services back. And I'm telling you, one is that we cannot be having this kind of perception that my good friend has. We must build trust to our government. Otherwise, we elected this government. We trust this government. We give it time. It delivers. Even if it fails to deliver, it's only 5 years contract. Okay. Yes.
Linda.
Then William and his deputy Rigiji will come back to the same people.
Linda.
If you fail to at least deliver within 5 years, you cannot tell Kenyans you deliver at 10 years.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Linda, he said, he's talked about NSSF.
Yeah.
And I've just remembered there's income tax here. What is an income tax? It's taxes that you get as an income, okay? So NSSF, when you're retiring, your NSSF mwajiriwa, skiza hapa, the government will tax 35% of the amount of money you'll be paid, 800,000 and above.
And above.
Okay? So they will tax you 800,000 above, 35%. No umefanya kazi miaka yote, ukiservice hizo taxes zingine, 60. Then watakuwa.
Why do you want to go home without paying back
not paying back.
the kitty?
Not paying back. Surely, this person is old now. He's been taxed.
Who takes that tax?
Listen.
The tax is taken to the services.
Linda, listen to what I'm saying. You've been taxed. Linda, you are here now in this auspicious place. You're being taxed. You'll be taxed for 60 years.
Allow him to argue.
Then
as a beneficiary of the services of the government.
At 60 years,
he should not argue as if the government is taking business with this money.
You'll be taxed with the holding tax, which is now it's like a lump sum tax of income tax. Of 35% of 835, 800 and above.
800,
so 32, it's reduced from on 500 to 8. But what is the current income tax on NSSF? What is the current?
I can't recall.
It's actually 20-something%. So why hit these guys like this? At 60 years, somebody has blood pressure, somebody has all these diseases za uzee. na ndio unamwanora mkikuwa na...
They are intending to streamline this process such that when it is time for you to get, you know, your pension...
Okay, they make it easy,
yes,
but now what do
they take almost everything.
Yes, 35%? Anyway, do you know it is only 15% to 50%? So wamekubakia ngapi?
What you would be arguing is, yes, members consider this. We know even ourselves.
Niwe nakwambia si utaenda yule bunge. Si wewe sasa uangalie.
Listen to me. I am a beneficiary of a return
uko ghetto.
Yeah, he's a beneficiary.
I'm a beneficiary.
Yes.
I also want to tell you, Rita, let us not even allow, somebody has just stocked your money, has kept your money well, up to the level of now giving back to you.
It is only fair.
You have been paying little, but he will give you one batch of whatever you have contributed. It is also important to pay something back to the government, because I want this gentleman to understand the government is not anybody's business, it's not a private entity. This is for the people. And that's why every cycle of 5 years, either bring it in or fire it.
That's why we keep saying, really, Kenyans do not have a problem with paying tax or payment of tax. The only concern would be, at least let's get value for money.
Of course.
All right.
I am for that.
Okay.
And I am saying I am not feeling any pain when because in NHF, I will be deducted. In SSF, I will be deducted. In those ones above 500, I will have what you call an axe. I have no problem. As much as these revenues will be prudently used, my only worry is that William has shown that actually he can be able to crack the whip. I would like to urge him, crack the whip to the letter, so that every single penny that actually finds its way through loopholes, those loopholes are well sealed and wastage are totally capped. If we can do that, then we can all say we are seeing where the government is heading to.
Okay. Yes. Gentlemen, let's close it in a minute or thereabout. Eric.
We've talked about taxes a lot.
And
a lot. And this
I hope we're forgiven because
this is the most beautiful time in our nation. Why I'm saying beautiful, because for the last 2 weeks, all the stations plus TV47, they've been talking about taxes. And they've been communicating to Kenyans and telling Kenyans this is how things are done. And how beautiful, again, I'm saying, Kenyans have gotten to know the differences and the algorithms about taxation. But the issue is, we are not escaping this thing. They said they have the numbers, so give them a say. They are going to win it. We are going to have a bloated government with big taxation. CAAS is 50. We'll have to run with all this. So we have to be taxed to make sure these guys are paid.
And they say 0.something%.
It doesn't matter. That's why that's why when I said 1.5, when I was saying those other guys are taxed 5%, you reduce it from 15%. He said it's little. I said it's little. He said money is money. So 0.5% still is money. So what I'm saying is this, is that Ruto gave us a lot of stories in his manifesto, and Kenyans are asking on Twitter, and actually TikTok is the most political. Whoever stole Ruto's manifesto, amrudishie. That someone keeps saying that on Twitter. Amrudishie manifesto yake because ni kama ametoa kwa manifesto. But now I'm saying, Ruto, we will give you back your manifesto, and we want you to work. Kindly, e-housing itakunyoa.
How?
Itakunyoa.
How?
Well.
Itakunyoa.
How is another story. Let us listen.
No, me, I would say, and I want to sum up that way. If there is a program and a project that to me is dear meaning to the recovery of our economy, it will cater for jobless, it will cater for those who surprise, it will cater for many, many sectors. It will also give a prize to our manufacturers who does these products that actually are going to be used in those particular buildings. I would say, at the end of the day, if we are having what I can say a hoax, is only when I can be able to fear. But I am sure we are genuine on this, and the will and the goodwill is already on the ground. So let us not keep judging William on a negative way. Allow him time. He will be able to explain to Kenyans after 5 years. And I can tell you, if we have done a magnitude set of the houses, he'll be able to tell Kenyans, see, these are the results.
Yeah.
Yes, but we cannot demonize him now because he failed in housing.
Okay.
Then we cannot just in that Kogimaya and then fail at the same. Let my good friend allow to use that other angle, and I am sure we shall win it.
1 second. Kenyans, we are also being lied to. MPs are going to pay 2,500 tax. Hiyo 35% ni urongo.
Okay.
Na wewe Mkenya unaenda kulipa pesa mingi. Hiyo 2,500 wao wamewekewa, lakini but that's true. Kwani hiyo 2,500 si ndio mnaenda kulipa? But that is the honest.
But don't play poker in a public media.
But ni
it's
ukweli.
unfortunate. I am telling you for sure.
Unalipa 35.
Can I tell you, if today my salary is taxed to a level of 350, it's almost 400.
Na hiyo 35 utalipa ama ni 2,500
Why not?
inatolewa?
Nitakuja kama imekatwa, nitakuja na pesa ilipo hapa.
But also there are taxes too.
No, so we were being lied to during the meetings that ni 2,500 on media again. So walisema watatoa 2,500 kwa MPs.
What was discussed is that in fact the one who pay the most is at 2,500. But the rest will pay
the cap.
The rest will pay up to 300, even two.
Yeah.
Now that in fact it has been reduced to 1.5, it will just come half row.
Okay.
Yes.
You want to say something about this gentleman? The Kanusu. Gachagua versus Mudavadi. Is there a bottom?
But Mudavadi is the king. Gachagua will not be, he's gone. But that is, I said immediately we started the government of KK that the person to watch is Mudavadi. And that is true. So Gachagua was just playing hard. Ukiuma unajua unasema ile kitu ni kama kimadharau. Wacha wengine watembee, mimi nafanya kazi. It is important kutembea. You need international relations. You need to know other presidents. You need to create network. Wewe kama kazi yako ni kushinda hapa, mwingine ana create network. Mimi nikwambia Gachagua is being reduced, Mudavadi has been raised, and Mudavadi is the next. Either president, or it will be Mudavadi. It is Mudavadi versus Kalonzo.
No.
Because Ruto is not going to be the president in 2027. Hizi vitu zinafanyika hizi. Hebu turudie saa hii uchaguzi uone vile ataanguka. Turudie saa hii.
May I tell you, and take this to bank. I am telling you, don't poison those who voted for this government. You know very well, you voted otherwise. But there are those who voted for this government. Give them their chance. Allow the goodwill of their president to also work.
Siunga irudi 100 basi, hivyo ndo mlisema. You know, we say against what we said.
So, my good friend, you know you are not patient at all. And because you are patientless, give us a break. Give us a break. Because I am telling you, Linda, what will matter is that, in fact, you cannot be always referring to 1 year, you have not done this one. Yes, assume. I don't know whether I'm assume we took over this government and we also...
But Mudavadi will be the president.
No, someone is saying, Linda, Mount Kenya, where is that? Mount Kenya walisema, wacha kiturambe, lakini Raila was never an option.
I can tell you, it's not an option for now, even for future. He's not an option for Mount Kenya.
And now Gachagua is not an option in Nyanza now, not in future. We would rather have Mudavadi than Gachagua.
Reader. The business of Kenya Kwanza is a business of Kenya Kwanza fraternity, and we shall decide.
It's the business for the country. It's the government.
We would rather have Mudavadi in Nyanza than Gachagua. That one is correct.
And there is no problem with
Yes. The same way you are saying is not Gachagua. How now? How?
Can you agree? Where does Mudavadi belong today? He belongs to Kenya Kwanza fraternity. So he's not an outsider. So,
but I would rather vote Mudavadi than vote otherwise.
Don't worry. It will be either Gachagua or Mudavadi or Wetangula or whoever else. We will decide from our fraternity. You can't decide for us.
Thank you.
So Kenya Kwanza will hold until then?
Of course, because we have another stage to go. 2027, we don't require succession.
Okay.
The succession will just appear in 2032.
Okay.
That's